morning and welcome to Christ Central Daily Devotional. I'm Fiona and today I'm going to be reading from Esther. But before I do, I'm going to have a quick 10-second recap in true pantomime style. So the wicked Haman worked his way to the top of the Persian Empire and used his power to force the decree to annihilate the Jews. God, however, had other ideas and used his even greater power to have Esther elected as queen. Through her influence, Haman was exposed as a slimy villain and ended up swinging on the same gallows that he had built for Mordecai. All good? Well, not so fast. There's still the revenge plot to go. So here goes. The Jews destroy their enemies. Esther chapter 9. The 13th day of Adar came, the day on which the royal proclamation was to take effect. The day when the enemies of the Jews were hoping to get them in their power. But instead, the Jews triumphed over them. In the Jewish quarter of every city in the empire, the Jews organized themselves to attack anyone who tried to harm them. People everywhere were afraid of them, and no one could stand against them. In fact, all the provincial officials, governors, administrators, and royal representatives helped the Jews because they were all afraid of Mordecai. It was well known throughout the empire that Mordecai was now a powerful man in the palace and was growing even more powerful. So the Jews could do what they wanted with their enemies. They attacked them with swords and slaughtered them. In Susa, the capital city itself, the Jews killed 500 men. Among them were the 10 sons of Haman, son of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews, Parshandatha, Dalphon, Aspatha, Poratha, Adalia, Aridatha, Brahmashita, Arisai, Aridai, and Vaisatha. However, there was no looting. That same day, the number of people killed in Susa was reported to the king. He then said to Queen Esther, "In Susa alone, the Jews have killed 500 men, including Haman's 10 sons. What must they have done out in the provinces? What do you want now? You shall have it. Tell me what else you want, and you shall have it." Esther answered, "If it please your majesty, let the Jews in Susa do again tomorrow what they were allowed to do today, and order the bodies of Haman's 10 sons to be hung from the gallows." The king ordered this to be done, and the proclamation was issued in Susa. The bodies of Haman's 10 sons were publicly displayed. On the 14th day of Adar, the Jews of Susa got together again and killed 300 more men in the city. But again, they did no looting. The Jews in the provinces also organized and defended themselves. They rid themselves of their enemies by killing 75,000 people who hated them. But they did no looting. This was on the 13th day of Adar. On the next day, the 14th, there were no more killings, and they made it a joyful day of feasting. The Jews of Susa, however, made the 15th a holiday, since they had slaughtered their enemies on the 13th and the 14th, and then stopped on the 15th. This is why Jews who live in a small town observe the 14th day of the month of Adar as a joyous holiday, a time for feasting and giving gifts of food to one another. So, it's D-Day, 13th day of the 12th month, the day the Jewish enemies had been waiting for, the day the Jewish problem was going to go away, the day when, thanks to the earlier decree of Haman using the king's authority, it was now okay to find and kill any Jew and take their property. However, thanks to God's intervention and Mordecai's new decree, it was now the day the Jews could do the killing and slaughter their enemies. The tables had turned, and the Jews had the king on their side. All is going well. Queen Esther petitions for a second day to continue with the slaughter, and we see Haman's 10 sons being hanged and publicly displayed. Finally, on the 14th day, there were no killings. Instead, there was feasting, and the jolly holiday of Purim was about to become a thing, celebrated from that day forward. Now, as we know, the Jews had their enemies. Anyone who's ever read any Auschwitz material will know the horrors of World War II Nazi Germany. But even today, Jews are being persecuted. There are still decrees coming from Persia, now Iran, calling for the destruction of the Jewish race. We know this is only going to end when Jesus returns. But in the meantime, the Jews had and have the king on their side. And we too have the king on our side, turning the tables on seemingly impossible situations. Now, back in 2012, I had the tables turned on a situation which was seemingly impossible. I'd been ill for over a year with a bone infection. 18 months and 9 operations later, it was decided that the only choice was to amputate my leg. So D-Day arrived for me, and I was booked onto the ward, signed all the paperwork, and had my one slipper ready for post-ward shuffling. Just as I was about to be wheeled down to theatre, my surgeon appeared, sat on my bed, and calmly told me that my microbiologist, Dr. Susan Hopkins, who incidentally you may have seen alongside Boris and Matt at daily briefings, had requested further blood tests to be done. It turned out that apparently she'd been unable to sleep and had a nagging feeling that it wasn't the right thing for me to have my leg amputated. So began a flurry of phone calls between my surgeon and Dr. Hopkins about whether medically or mentally it was the right thing to do, considering I've been so unwell for so long. Now, as most of you know, I do still have 2 legs, and both slippers are now very much in use. Now, whether this was an act of science that my infection markers suddenly lowered, or whether Dr. Hopkins' concerns were merely due to a bad case of insomnia, well, that's up to you to decide. But personally, I do believe the tables were turned by a God much bigger than the mighty world-class surgeon I'm privileged to have looking after me. But I am, however, under no doubt that should I have had the operation, I still would have been okay. Life would have been different and certainly a lot more challenging. But my God would have been, and still is, big enough to have been able to handle it. So today in our prayer time and throughout the day, I want us to reflect on Romans 8 and pray about how we would like to see God turn the tables in our own lives and in our world today. So if God be for us, who can be against us? No Haman, no enemies, no human, no forces of evil will ever come between us and our King, our God. Thank you.